Generating debate about generating more of the EU's energy from renewable sources and wind power in particular, with the European Commission proposing to get 20% of the EU's energy from renewables by 2020. This year's European Wind Energy Conference and exhibition in Brussels is providing the industry and other players with a forum to have their say. The first session opened not with wind turbines, but with music from wind instruments and a wind dancer. And then a positive message from the EU's Energy Commissioner.
Wind energy has delivered the most promising results in the EU for a number of years. And actually wind energy brings the perception to society that the change is possible.
At present, nearly 4% of the EU's electricity demand is met by wind energy. Commissioner Piebalgs is hoping that will reach 12% by 2020. And a European Wind Energy Association report, Pure Power, launched during the opening session, says that figure is achievable. In fact, it concludes that up to 14% of the EU's power demand in 2020 could come from wind energy, equivalent to supplying the needs of 107 million households. But in a related campaign, Generation Wind, the European Wind Energy Association is highlighting key barriers that will have to be overcome. Administrative barriers, priority access to electricity grids, effective support mechanisms and stable national regulatory frameworks, and public acceptance. CEO of the European Wind Energy Association, Christian Kier, says public acceptance, which he thinks is already high, is a matter for the wind industry, but he believes that the Commission's proposed Renewables Directive will tackle the other barriers.
In terms of the other barriers, administrative barriers, grid access and the financial frameworks, these are exactly the issues that the European Commission's proposal do address.
The European Wind Association president told the conference that the Commission's Renewables Directive also has a role to play in tackling big differences in growth rates of wind energy between EU countries.
We have these strong countries like China, Spain and the United States. We have Italy and France with also a growth, but then the rest, the growth rate was negative in 2007. So starting from India, but also all the European countries like Germany, UK, Portugal and Canada installed. What does it mean? That they installed less in 2007 than they had been installed in 2006.
MEP Britta Thomson, shadow rapporteur for the Renewables Directive in the European Parliament, drove home the message that it's not just about setting targets, it's about making sure member states stick to them.
We need to set up binding milestones towards 2020 so that the Commission can react towards member states that are not fulfilling the goals that they are committed to. I also find it important that the Commission can reject part of the national action plans if they are found to be insufficient or undocumented.
Commissioner Piebalgs told us that he doesn't envisage member states failing to meet the targets. He thinks they won't want to risk the loss of credibility in the eyes of their citizens and non-EU countries like China. And there's always the threat of infringement proceedings.
And it's not true that we can use infringement procedure only if the target is not being achieved. We can use the infringement procedure if there is no guaranteed access to the grid, if the administrative procedures are too complicated, or if the country's path toward renewable energy is too slow.
So, if the wind industry can achieve what the Commissioner and the European Wind Energy Association hope, what will the benefits be to the EU of getting 12 or even 14% of the EU's electricity from wind by 2020? Well, according to the European Wind Energy Association's Generation Wind campaign, there are 4 key benefits. Economic growth, by 2020 an estimated €150 billion of investment in wind energy in the EU. By 2020, CO2 savings equivalent to taking 165 million cars off the road. Greater energy independence for the EU, which currently imports 56% of energy. And finally, an estimated 368,000 new jobs in Europe.